Alright, well welcome to Dirty Old Nelson's vlog. It's Friday. We're getting about halfway through the friggin' summer. I'm working on Richard's Les Paul. I know there's a bunch of you waiting for the second part of this video. We're getting there. I've had a few little problems to clean up with this one. Most recently, somewhere right in here actually. I had the faintest little, when I was painting this, I had the faintest little hair here. I pulled it out, made a mess. So I've been cleaning that up, but it's turning out okay. I gotta clean up the guitar. Still have to wet sand the headstock, but that looks really good. The back actually turned out, that's been wet sanded down to, I'm pretty sure where I'm gonna leave it. Although it's really tempting because it's very close to like perfectly flat. I bet if I sprayed another couple of thick coats on there, I could probably flatten that completely, totally flat. Now let's not forget, this is an LPJ, and the finishes on these are never completely flat. Like it's never completely mirror flat, not even the studios anymore. Look, I'll show you my most expensive Gibsons, and the finishes aren't completely flat, so I don't feel bad about leaving it that way. If I polish that out, that'll look really good. Anyway, so yeah, there's a bunch of shit going on. I got this back to have down here for demos. I actually sold this amp and bought it back. But when it came back to me, it came with this attachment pedal. So I have one of these again, Mustang 3. Yeah, I can actually get a decent sound out of it. Modeling amps are not... I get overwhelmed by choices, so I like things to be simple. That's most of the reason I don't like these things, but I can get a decent sound out of it, because this one will let you sort of choose an amp model and then play with it as though that's just the way it is. It's just that amp, and these are the controls you have, and so that end of it's kind of cool for me. And there's the old speaker we pulled out of the fender. I got Lando's guitar. It's been sitting here for a couple of weeks. I feel bad. He's asked me to go over this guitar and do a quick setup of it, and just, it's really nice. The body is extraordinary looking. I love this like pearl finish. It looks great, double binding. It used to have sort of a weird looking headstock on it, but now he's got this more, I think it's a Mighty Mite neck. I'm pretty sure. I did watch your video, Lando. I'm sure you said this was Mighty Mite. But anyway, it's a nice feeling neck. Action's a bit high at the moment, so I'm just going to try and set it up. And the main thing we're going to be looking for is just to make sure we can intonate that guitar. So when I actually can work on this thing, we'll just get a measurement from the 12th fret down to the saddles and just make sure that that's near about the same measurement as from the nut to the 12th fret, and that we have enough room to move back and forwards this way to do intonation. So I'll just check it the way he's got set up right now when I actually get working on it, and just see where the intonation is actually at, and see if I can intonate it the way he's already got it constructed. Because my fear is that it may either be too deep or not deep enough, but hopefully that'll just work. Hopefully this just works. And that's really heavy too. I measured this bastard, it's like 9.6 pounds. It's heavy. Holy shit. Heavy. I got friggin' Rob's guitars back. Oh, I've been meaning to show you guys this for ages too. I've had this for ages. We're gonna have to have a little chat about this mic. This little this little pickup from the 60s, which I temporarily mounted in there. It sounds incredible. I got, yeah, so friggin' Rob's guitar's back. His, this is the yellow. I have video of this guitar having modified it that I haven't put up on YouTube yet into its current state. And before I even got editing the video, he's changed his mind again. So yeah, this guitar, this is a bitchin' guitar. But he got rid of all the, there was a like a little dip switch and he wanted to go down to 1 volume and tone, so we just sort of plugged those holes and set it up to be really easy switching. It has super switch in there and a bunch of other stuff. He just wanted all that removed and have a more simple setup. But then I got him talked into going HH, the reason for which I have been saving for ages. There's a viewer of the channel, Taylor Lethbridge. He is not from Lethbridge, Alberta. He's from Ontario. There we go. He sent me this a while back, and I posted pictures of it on my Instagram. But this is a, I hope that's in friggin' focus. Come on, you dirty slut. Maybe if I put it down. Here we go. Anyway, he sent me this pickup, which is a P90. It's a P90 sized, or it's a humbucker sized P90 rather. And I've just been waiting for a good guitar to throw this into, but obviously one of my own guitars. And then I got thinking, you know what, Rob? Maybe we could try this in Rob's guitar. So that's what we're gonna do. He's gonna lose the 2 single coils and we're gonna go P90 with this original barbecue bucker, which sounds great. And then just go 1 volume, 1 tone. And that's what I bought over there. So it's just got 2 holes, 1 volume, 1 tone, 2 humbuckers. But in this case, we're gonna install Taylor's because I'm dying to hear what this sounds like. And I've already spoken to Taylor. He's super cool with me giving this to a good friend of mine. It's good guitarma. I would like to keep it for myself. But you know, I think the other thing is too that if I really do like the way it sounds, I'll just buy another one from him. Right? It's not... I think that's kind of the point I'm trying to make while putting this thing away in a very clumsy fashion. Anyway, so yeah, that's it. That's gonna stay there and get installed in Rob's guitar. And like I said, yeah, if I really like it, then when I have an opportunity to install it in a guitar of my own, I'll just buy one from him. Because they're really reasonably priced too. He's like, I can't remember exactly. Go to his website. I'll make sure I post a link to it. Okay, so yeah, that's Rob's guitar. Plus, I got videos on my hard drive, which friggin'... think the cops are on their way. It's too loud with 240 watt amps screaming in the house, but it sounds awesome. Also, for those of you who wonder, is it really worth buying an inexpensive guitar and throwing a bunch of expensive parts at it? And I'm gonna say, as somebody who's done it more than once, the answer is hell yes it is. Is it worth throwing expensive parts at any cheap guitar? Hell no, it's not. You should be selective about what you throw expensive parts at. Absolutely. But I am sort of the king of free lunch around YouTube. And free lunch being getting a budget guitar and getting a really good sound out of it. And I've done that dozens and dozens and dozens of times. It can be done. There's no question it can be done, especially with Squiers. They're manufactured so well that you could practically treat them like a shell if you get them used, strip everything off them, put good parts on them, and even the money that you spend putting good parts on them is well spent. And then there are things like these Epiphones. Would I throw expensive parts at any Epiphone? Probably not. In fact, there are probably fewer Epiphones that I would throw a bunch of expensive parts at than I would Squiers. And the reason is that there's even with Epiphones, there's sort of a few tiers of quality, so to speak, with Epiphone. And I would say that something like this, where they've tried pretty hard to make you a really nice guitar. And this is the 58 reissue, Explorer Carina. And the other reason I would throw money at a guitar like this is because I'm more likely to keep a guitar like this than I would one with the traditional sort of, clip dog ears. That's what they look like to me. They look like poor sad puppies that have had their ears clipped. Hey, the Epiphone headstock, I just don't like them. I just personally do not like the way an Epiphone headstock looks. It's probably chief among the reasons I haven't kept any of the really great ones that I've owned, because they are great guitars, and if you don't mind the way the headstock looks, you can definitely have free lunch out of an Epiphone. But this one in particular, to me, and I think I did this the last time I did a sort of a you will always want the Gibson version of the Epiphone that you have, and I still think that largely holds true. But with this one, the headstock's the same. Right, with this one, the headstock is the same. The Gibson, like the shape, the overall shape of the guitar is exactly the same with the Gibson and the Epiphone one, right? So maybe the body's a little thicker, thinner, or dimensions are slightly different in certain areas. I'll grant you that for those of you who are going to be a bit pedantic about it. But overall, that shape looks exactly like nearly identical. And I'm going to tell you, for those of you who would shy away from a guitar like this, for this sort of body style, this is, first of all, amazingly comfortable to play. Way more comfortable to play than you would imagine, both sitting and standing. Your arm, this is like a big old armrest. It's comfortable as hell. And that sitting over top of your knee is extraordinarily comfortable. And the neck on this guitar, like, this is a good guitar. This is a really well-playing, well-manufactured guitar. And you know how I'm starting to look at these for the adjustment that I have left that they've given me, right? And the beauty is that is like touching the body. That stopped it, like, this was set up from the factory well. They're not all like this. I've not even had any Gibsons this slick with this good of a neck angle. Like, this one came out well, because none of the strings touch the bridge, but the tailpiece is touching the body. Maximum sustain. Right? Whereas you like never see that. Never see that. And that's amazing. That's mark of a really, really well designed neck meets the body angle. And because it's a flat body, right, that's easier to achieve. That neck angle, that perfect neck angle is easier to achieve. Whereas, like even on my SG, which is also a flat top, and it's not that good, right? It's not nowhere near as close to the body. So that none of those strings touch the bridge. And I digress. Is it worth throwing money and expensive? Depends on the guitar. It absolutely 100% depends on the guitar, and I would say that if it's a guitar that you already like, don't throw money at guitars you don't already like. And I know that sounds a bit counterintuitive, but this guitar already sounded really good. Right from the get-go. Like it already, I was hesitating about whether or not I should change anything about it. But I knew that I could probably improve it some over the long run and certainly give at least the pots and the switch a bit more longevity. And it was fun. I mean, it was fun to do. But the 57 Classic Plus is an outstanding pickup. It sounds crazy good. And stacked up against, like I got 57s in this one, which are going to probably obviously sound slightly different in this SG. And they're 57s in the 339. So it's essentially 3 guitars with the same pickup, except that's a 57 Classic Plus. So it's a few extra winds, it's a bit hotter. It sounds amazing in this guitar. It took it to the next level. It took this guitar to the next level. Like it sounded great before, but now it sounds amazing to my ear. Like for what I like and the way I like a guitar to sound, that is, I'm seriously considering ordering myself a 57 Classic Plus for the bridge in this guitar. I find the bridge in this guitar a little bit lackluster compared to that one now. And I think this guitar already sounds really good, and I think it would be a screamer with one of those. So, you know, my ideas of what kinds of guitars to throw money at over the years of doing all these modifications has matured somewhat. But don't forget, cheap guitars is a good way to experiment with, like, don't buy a $1,000 plus guitar to learn to experiment on guitars with. Right? Buy cheap Squires, and that's what I did. You buy cheap guitars to learn to experiment on, and you find those nice parts that you like, and you lose some, you gain some over the long run. But I've benefited from having done that. Because now I know when I get expensive guitars what I want to do to them without a lot of trial and error. Right? That's the good thing about cheap guitars. If you want to get into modifying guitars, I think you almost have no choice but to start buying more affordable guitars. And that's what I did a few years ago. I sold everything expensive I had. I had an SG Standard, an older one, and I can't remember what other guitars, but I sold all that shit and just started buying cheap guitar after cheap guitar after cheap guitar, and parts and bits and cheap guitars, and that's how I learned to do all this, on cheap guitars. And so I think the answer is that is more complicated than just a simple yes or no. Is it worth throwing money and time and parts at affordable guitars? And I would say overall, yes, it is. From my perspective, from having to learn to do this, if you look at it from that perspective, it absolutely is. If you're looking at it from a free lunch perspective, like I'm going to get the same thing for less money, that's a half a dozen to 1/6 of the other. Like this guitar now, this Epiphone Explorer, I'm into this the same money that I would be nearly, maybe $200 less expensive with this than I would have been going to buy the Gibson version of this. Now, if you go look at the Carina Gibson version of this, well, then I'm thousands less, because that one is like $2,500 and something. But I'm like $1,100–1,200 into this guitar with the case. So remove $100 from that for and I got way better tuners than you would get on the Gibson, because these are locking. And I would arguably say that the pots and the, all that stuff and the wiring is just as good as the Gibson version. The 57 Classic is going to be a better pickup than when you get in the Gibson version. Those are 490s, 498. That's still the Epiphone pickup, so you can't really compare the two. Like, am I getting as good a guitar as the Gibson? Well, it depends. Does any of this, like, people, that's the first thing people said to me, oh, you gotta get rid of this bridge and tailpiece, you gotta go replace that for this reason, that reason, and the other. Well, here's the thing, it doesn't cause me any grief. This is not right now causing me any grief. So I don't think it's really necessarily a thing I need to change. I've already affected the biggest change I think I can on this guitar, and that's the way it sounds and the way it plays and the way it stays in tune. So, sink your money into areas of performance of the guitar that are important to you. And I think that's the best advice I can get to any. There's no right or wrong way to do this stuff, right? Just do things the way that works for you. Yeah. So anyway, that's the end of my rant. I haven't had a long rant in a long while, but I'll be back with, as you can hopefully see, a bunch of stuff.